The New Tech Times, a video magazine for the electronic age. In this edition, Silicon Valley Magic. Will today's princes become tomorrow's paupers? Also, banking by computer, the future of your high-tech dollar. Later, a commentary by author Peter McWilliams, and a story about homework, courtesy of computers. All that and more in this edition of the New Tech Times.
The New Tech Times is brought to you through a grant from Wausau Insurance Companies. Times change. Wausau works.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Johnson. You know me as the host of the New Tech Times, but when I withdraw money from my bank's automatic teller machine, it doesn't know who I am. That's why I carry one of these, your bank's instant access card. Don't leave home without it. Well, of course you can leave home without it. Most of us still use paper checks. Some do without checking accounts altogether. But the banks are becoming increasingly computerized. Electronic funds transfer, as they call it, has been used for years to move money between banks. But now they're trying to get us to do it. And it's no accident that the keyboard on the automatic teller looks like your phone's touch-tone pad. As you may have suspected, your friendly local banker has considerably more in mind than your convenience. Here's Gary Probst's report.
In Washington, D.C., customers at the James Madison National Bank have several options when handling their finances. They can use a computer or they can go through tellers. The vast majority of customers still prefer the old-fashioned personal way, but the computer is moving in fast. An average of 2 new clients go online every day.
It's become more fun. No longer the tedium of sitting down and writing checks. Certainly, we have found in this particular operation that most people are more interested in seeing their statement at this point. Almost every session that we have seen customers sign on for has ended with a statement. Who has cashed what check, and when did they cash it, and did this deposit come in, and what is my balance, et cetera, et cetera. I think that most people are very curious as to how their funds are, how they look at any given point in time. And of course, people will call in daily just to find out what checks have cleared.
The home banking system is not complicated. It involves a small personal computer which is furnished by the bank. The person at home calls up the bank's computers and hooks into a modem. That's a translating device, so the phone's beeps can be understood by the computer. A person can pay bills to any of 150 merchants, transfer money to other accounts, and even ask for a loan through the terminal. For the convenience, the bank charges a $15 monthly fee.
I think really where it's going to pay for itself is in the additional services that we will, of course, be offering in the years to come and in the months to come. Discount brokerage, the possibility of having insurance, putting your IRA into the system, travel plans, travel agency. The more information that we can provide through this product, the more the consumer will benefit from it.
Erwin Mendelson is one of the Madison National Computer clients. He's also a certified public accountant. Mendelson says the computer helps him to glean more interest from accounts by holding money in higher-yielding investments before paying his bills.
Well, it's a big benefit because your money market account pays your current interest rates, and you can maintain a minimum level of balance in your checking account, only, maybe a couple $100 or $1,000, I guess. And that way you can have your money working for you at all times. Eventually you're going to be able to pay all your bills, so all you'll need is some personal checks maybe you carry on your person with you, but it'll eventually be completely everything on the computer.
Home computer banking is just starting to get off the ground. Terminals are being set up in several large cities. Bankers would love to eliminate the high cost of handling checks.
The technology is changing as far as the delivery devices themselves. It won't be many more years before a device much like we're providing now will probably be available for $50. So we really haven't and in fact we are targeting that as a possibility. So I think you're going to see the higher priced computers providing more and more service. The lower end price computers will provide basic services. So I think everybody will be able to participate in the program as it evolves.
At New York's Chemical Bank, they're connecting with anywhere from 25 to 50 new computer customers per day. Chemical's Pronto system is a bit more advanced than the setup in Washington. It provides electronic mail service and the ability to set up advance payments of bills to hundreds of businesses.
A customer can set up, say, for a mortgage payment or a loan payment or something like that, what we call a recurring payment plan, where he establishes a given date of the month or every 2 weeks or every week that he wants a particular bill to be paid and the amount of that payment. And then it will automatically happen until he says, whoops, I don't have enough money this month, in which he can go in and change the amount just for that month and let it pick up afterwards, or he could stop it completely for the month.
In some cities, computerized banking may cause problems for people who don't have a lot of money on deposit. Not every bank provides a computer. Electronic communications expert Gary Arlen worries that people who can't afford a machine may be restricted by the bank.
Sadly, a lot of these new electronic services are not very democratic. They are going to create haves and have-nots. Clearly, the banking mechanism is moving toward that already. I remember not too long ago there was such a thing as no service charge checking, and it was very popular among the banks. That was a good sales tool they used. They're going away from that already. I don't think people will be prohibited from using banks, but they will have to do something, pay for it in the way of inconvenience, for example. I think some banks in New York have already tested the idea, to great public outcry at that matter, but they've already tested the ideas of making customers pay to see a teller, or making customers come in during only certain very limited hours where they're offered the option of personal, so-called personal service.
But the bankers believe it will be less expensive to buy a computer than to pay for the tellers.
Well, I think the whole banking and financial services industry is generally moving towards a fee for services rendered kind of approach to banking. And in fact, the way that Chemical has initially priced this service to the New York market, it doesn't matter what your balance is. It's $12 a month for this service, and you can have $40,000 on deposit or $200 on deposit. You're going to pay for this service that you're getting from the bank. I think the difference is that for a long time, checking account costs have been buried in minimum balances and savings accounts, and if you have an IRA and that sort of thing. But as we see already that pricing starting to become more explicit, I think we'll see that the cost of running a manual checking account is going to soon exceed the cost of running a computerized checking account through a system like Pronto.
Even if there are some problems along the way, computerized banking is where the financial people want it to go. Soon you may not carry any checks. Instead, you'll have a debit card. That's like a credit card with a microchip implanted in a circle. The card balances your account every time you buy something, and those cards are already being used in France.
The same electronics that lets you bank from home lets you work from home. Now, nobody's insisting we do it. Many people have good social reasons for wanting to get out of the house. Nor would you have to work at home every day. Maybe you only do it for those jobs that, well, they just can't be done in the midst of office socializing and coffee breaks and ringing phones. But don't assume a woman who's contacting her bank electronically from home is a housewife off on a shopping spree. These days, she just might be a bank officer, working from home. Here's this week's profile.
You'll find information consultant Bernadette Schultz at her desk in Chicago's Continental Bank only 1 day a week. Bernie now works part-time at home, writing and revising personnel and payroll computer programs on a bank-supplied computer terminal. She sends her homework to the office utilizing a computer-to-computer telephone hookup. The technology means Bernie Schultz can continue her career without spending 9 to 5 at the office.
My priorities were changing. I wanted to be home. I wanted to raise my children and be here with them as they grew up. I think the exposure they get with myself working with computers is going to be very useful for them in the future. They already understand that I will feed something in and then something comes back to me. They might not be able to read it yet, but they know there's a give and take there with a machine. Of all the qualities, I think being organized has to be, to me at least, top on my list. Also being very flexible. You know, you're organized and yet flexible at the same time, because kids are flexible. You may start out at point A, but you're never going to get to point B, because that's just the kind of day it is. Okay, push it. No.
Oh, I don't get to push it again.
Push it once. The children go in different stages, and I just adapt my working schedule to that. I can get by for 2 hours if I give them a can of Play-Doh. It works terrific. Midnight, stay there. Okay. Go out. Okay. You go out there and play, okay? Have a nice time. Mama's gonna make lunch for you for school.
Hey, girl! What are you doing?
There are times when I'm trying to do it all. I'm trying to be a good mother to the kids, which I think I am a good mother to them, and I do try to meet their needs. But I also have a need to want to do this kind of work, and there are times when I find myself trying to do too much of both. Katie, Carl, lunch. The relationships with my family, with my husband and children, I think have improved because I'm working at home. I feel good about myself and the things that I'm doing, and I think that reflects in everything else around me and how I relate to the people around me.
Ow!
Oh, I'm sorry. I also get the advantage of going away for 1 day a week and going downtown to the bank and talking with other adult people, you know, as opposed to spending my entire day with 2- and 3-year-olds.
Bernie brings her children to a preschool 2 afternoons a week, then comes home to work at her terminal. These quieter hours are used to work on complicated logic projects, writing new programs, and electronic mailings.
The electronic mail system allows me to communicate with the bank. I can sit down at my terminal and enter in a memo, a note to someone, address it to someone who works at Continental Bank. It is sent into a storage capacity, and then they can get on their terminal. They want to send something back to me and I'm not at home. It works both ways. There are times when you kind of feel like you're working 24 hours a day as opposed to 8 hours, and because I can be working early in the morning, I can work late at night, and sometimes that, you know, you feel like you're never letting go, like you've always brought your work home with you, because it is here all the time. But for the most part, it's been working out quite well. So, you know, right now I kind of have the best of both worlds, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Working from home electronically is something I've done for years, and so have you. Every time you shop by phone, it's really not that exotic. You know, from Iowa City, where I teach, I can work with the Lee Lecture Bureau in Princeton, do videotapes for a news conference in New York City, a radio interview in Los Angeles, write a column for Gannett in Washington. I send radio commentaries to National Public Radio from a satellite dish in Ames. You know, with many jobs today, you really can work from whatever spot in the world you find most delightful. I know a Pan Am pilot, a steel executive, many authors, who agree with me that that's Iowa City. But for others, it's running a national business from the mountains of Colorado or a houseboat in the Caribbean. And for Danny Goodman and Tim Onosko, it's right here in the WHA-TV studio in Madison. Welcome back, gentlemen. It's holiday time. People are out in the stores shopping around. The stores are filled with electronics. First, let me ask you this, Tim. Is this a good time to buy, or would people be better off really waiting until the sales in January?
Depends on what you're shopping for. In the case of electronic toys, those, like all toys, will probably be less expensive after Christmas. In the case of personal computers, there are some bargains out there this fall, either because of discontinued models that are still very usable on one level or another, or because price increases that have been announced by certain manufacturers will go into effect after the first of the year.
As you've looked around the marketplace, Danny, what do you see out there that's attracted your eye?
Well, there are a couple things I've seen I'd like to see with my name under the tree this holiday season. One would be this electronic watch. It's a Timex watch. But what's so unique about this product, and there are similar ones like it, is that it is electronic. There are no moving parts, but there are hands on here. It's
Well,
not...
this may surprise you, Danny, but when I was a little boy, we had watches with hands. They were called West Clock Scotties, and
Right.
they sold for $1.95.
And but they had moving parts and something could happen with them. But this is sort of a hybrid between a digital watch that's completely electronic and a mechanical watch that has hands. But in this case, it is entirely electronic. And it's about $30.
Tim, what have you found?
Well, I'm a space buff, as a lot of people who are interested in technology are. This is a video disc for the laser video disc players that contains both video and about 800 still photographs from the shuttle missions 5, 6, and 7. It's really, really well produced, and it's almost a reason in itself to get a video disc player.
What does it sell for?
About $40.
Danny, what else you found?
Something else that's new in the, with a lot of new technology built into this tiny little thing is a new Walkman player from Sony. And although Walkman players have been around for a while, this one is the smallest one yet. It folds down into the size of literally a cassette case.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. What's that sell for?
About $100.
Tim, you got another item?
Well, also from Sony is this record player. Now this, despite the fact that it looks pretty unusual, just uses standard 33 or 45 RPM records. Has a little linear tracking tone arm that moves up and down. The fidelity in this is terrific, and it runs on 4 penlight batteries so that you can put it on your desk or hang it on the wall. You can also use it with your home hi-fi as your turntable. And the nicest thing is that there's lots of software available.
I guess that's right. What does that sell for?
About $130 or $140.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Danny. Well, when we think about computers, we're most often thinking about our children. Did you ever wonder what our children are thinking about computers? Well, here with this week's commentary is the author of the personal computer book, Peter McWilliams.
Oh, yeah, I guess. This is kind of like Mastermind.
The point is that right now it's an exciting thing for kids because it's a new toy. Just as paper and pencil 100 years ago were exciting for kids. I mean, kids used to sit and write and do things, and they'd get a new pen, and oh, this was very exciting. Now, you know, it's no big deal. You know, I mean, we have our very own. This is my McWilliams 2-word processor here, you see, which is, you know, everybody has word processors these days in school, so it's no big deal. Kids do not come home and thrill to a new tablet of paper from their parents as they might have.
We only got one right on that one.
Right now, kids love computers because they're new, because their parents don't understand them and are in fact afraid of them. And boy, anything that the parents are afraid of or don't like, the kids take to immediately. You know, all you have to do is say, no, I don't like this thing, and kids will go out and do it, or buy it, or have it, or want it, or whatever. And that's where computers are now. When the kids today of 15 who love computers grow up to be the parents of tomorrow, that next generation will go, computers, we got to use them in school. I don't want to use a computer. I want to go do something else. You know, I want to go do, you know, genetic engineering or whatever the big thing will be 15, 20 years from now.
Do you want to quit? Yes.
Whatever guest commentator Peter McWilliams may think will happen 15 years from now, what's happening right now is that you and I have created a lot of millionaires in Silicon Valley. I thought you'd like to meet one of them. So producer Barry Stoner went to California, came back with this profile of Philip Wong.
This is Philip Wong. He's an engineer, a Korean immigrant, and a very wealthy man. On paper, he's worth over $1 billion, and he could lose it all overnight.
The high technology business is very interesting. You survive, you're very successful. If you're not catch up with technology, then you failed.
Wong is an electronic entrepreneur in a golden valley of chips and circuits and bits and bytes. He lives in Silicon Valley, home of over 15,000 millionaires.
I think it's safe to say we have a great concentration of very wealthy people here, especially a particular kind of wealthy people, people who have made it themselves, made it in a few years, and they have made it through taking chances, through starting a firm built around an idea for a new product, a new microelectronics product in every case. And they've somehow been able to overcome tremendous odds and risks and uncertainties.
It is a description that fits Philip Wong. In the 1960s, he left his home in Korea to get an education in electronics engineering and the hope for a better life.
I just come to the United States with $50. I want a rich family boy, no.
So what kind of man is this Korean immigrant?
He's a very creative guy, very dynamic kind of a person, a really exciting person to work with. Well, I've known him quite a while now, and he's, of course, the founder and the president of the company.
The company is Televideo Systems, a world leader in the production of high-quality business computer terminals. By combining mass production techniques with technological know-how, Philip Wong was able to undersell competition and build a multi-million-dollar corporation in only 6 years, with very little outside help.
His company went public some months ago, and he retained a large percent of ownership of the firm, almost all of it. Unlike most Silicon Valley entrepreneurs who give away or exchange roughly half of the total ownership of their firm in exchange for the venture capital that enables them to get started in the first place. Mr. Wong didn't do that.
It was not that he preferred to make it on his own. He just couldn't find a venture capitalist that would take a chance.
I never had a partner with the money, and I never been business before, and I never been big company management. I was nothing but engineering manager. So they come as to risk, so they're not investing money.
And so Philip Wong took a chance with his own money, $9,000 in family savings, and started Televideo.
Okay, so what's happening? Marketing.
And now the venture capitalists are kicking themselves because in 1975, when this operation was no bigger than Wong's garage, they wouldn't take the first risk.
All the bankers, investors, they call me, hey, do you need the money? You know, we'd like to loan you, we'd like to invest to you. And I say, no, thank you. When we need the money, you never give it to us. When we don't need the money, we don't want your money now.
But making money is not the only important thing for Philip Wong.
I've been through all those finance and difficulties. But still, I never do a business to just make money, right? For myself. No. Only the money I consider as a tool to grow company, okay, and maintain the business.
But in spite of Philip Wong's phenomenal success in the computer terminal business, the possibilities for setbacks or failure are still very real, as a growing number of high-technology companies have already experienced.
One reason is because the new product that is the entry ticket into the industry for the new firm often is out of date by age 4 years or 5 years. And so a firm has to come up with its second product, and that's not always so easy to do, and often that second product fails, or almost fails.
Televideo has been successful with its computer terminals, but now Wong is betting heavily that he can break into the personal business computer market.
I don't know much about how that second product is going. I think all right. And their first product is still selling like hotcakes. So it seems that as far as sales go, they're making this transition. But the jury is not yet in, I think, on whether they will be able to keep up this phenomenal rate of growth that they have had.
And that brings us to the second major threat to Televideo and other high-tech companies that win big in the early years.
These very fast-growing firms, trying to outgrow their competitors, grow so fast that the entrepreneur engineer, usually someone who is not skilled in management, is not able to manage the firm. And the Silicon Valley term is the race car goes off the track. You're an engineer and you don't like management, and you may not be very good at managing large numbers of people. And so suddenly you've got several hundred employees, and maybe you're selling $1 million of product a year or more. And suddenly the thing goes out of control, and before you know it, your firm is dead.
Okay, go engineering, get to the water chip.
Yes. Okay? We're going to have to send that out.
Will Philip Wong be as successful at managing a large corporation as he has been at building one from the garage up? Will he enjoy managing people as much as tinkering with electronics?
My principle is this. Whoever come to company, Televideo, I don't want them to come as a employee, come for paycheck. I want them to come to company as a partner, as a part of a company owner. So my company's supervisor above, everybody has stock options.
Wong also seems to have a sense of responsibility for his fellow Korean immigrants. It is not a coincidence that there are many Koreans in both manufacturing and supervisory jobs.
Only 600.
After that, we're going to stop.
Yeah.
Same as 970.
Right. All of them. All of them stop.
Okay.
One Korean employee had trouble finding an apartment because of his large family. Wong gave him a stock option, and when Televideo went public, the worker gave back to Wong something more than just money.
One day he gave me a little envelope, right? And he said, this envelope, I asked him, what is this? And he said, we bought the house. Coming Saturday, we're going to have an open house, you know, with the 6 children. Then he said, thank you. Now I bought the house because you give me stock options. With the stock, I sold it, which make me down pay house, and I can buy a house. That is making me the most happy in all my life. That make me much happier than when I sold, okay, some stock, you know, few $1 million, right? You know, a lot of people call me, you know, a $1 billion guy. I'm happy to see him to buy a house. Then I become billionaire.
Philip Wong, electronics entrepreneur, risk taker, and something more.
Banking at home, working at home, your holiday gifts to the children, your big gift to Philip Wong, it's all part of the New Tech Times. Thank you for looking in. Come back to see us next week.
The New Tech Times has been brought to you through a grant from Wausau Insurance Companies. Times change. Wausau works.
For discount information and copies of the booklets How to Buy a Home Computer and How to Buy a Telephone, send $1 to the New Tech Times, 821 University Avenue, Madison, Wisconsin, 53706.